Hi everybody, my name's Kay. You're watching Amidst the Gray, and today I'm gonna put my big girl vulnerable pants on and do a VR to that 9-card spread tag from Meg at Rose Honey Ritual. Let's do it. I'm out in the wild today. Not really, I'm probably like 300 feet from my house. But we have all of this snow on the ground, and I guess that just makes it feel like wild country, even though it's absolutely not. My son had his wisdom teeth removed 2 days ago, and he's in that extremely uncomfortable stage right now. And he's finally actually sleeping. He's able to get some rest, so I decided to go outside in the cold and the snow and film this intro. I've been wanting to do this VR ever since I saw the tag, just because I'm pretty familiar with this particular spread. It was actually one of the first videos I ever remember watching from Kelly in probably about 3 years ago, back when I first kind of started getting into this whole thing. Once I kind of got comfortable with like smaller spreads, like 3, 4, 5, 6 cards, I decided to give this 9-card spread a try, and I got a lot out of it. It was the positions I used back then were a little bit different than the ones I'm going to use now, and they're going to be a bit different than the ones that I've seen some other readers use, but I think that's okay. It's pretty adaptable, and I think it works. I'll walk through the positions I chose as I go through, just to kind of map out where everything is. I'll link Meg's original video. I will also link Kelly's video, the one that I remember watching, just as kind of some compare and contrast of this particular spread. Okay, I think that's it. Let's lay out some cards.
Flora says, cats first, cards second. I prepare for the reading with the obligatory oiling of the hands. I am using the Shampure oil from Aveda. For the tarot, I was really feeling the darkness of light for this reading. Out of almost all of the tarots that I have, this deck in particular likes to give me all the connections and the synchronicities, and it's usually a lot of kind of heavier energetic themes that emerge when I use this deck, so we shall see what comes up. I start by carrying out my side shuffle 6 times. I kind of went through this process in my year ahead reading. I explained kind of how I shuffle decks at the beginning of the reading. I'm also going to let you know in advance that I had some wonky focus issues and weird angles going on the entire time I did this. So if you're not bothered by that, then by all means continue watching. And on a side note, I do have the 4th edition of this deck with the linen cardstock. I am now splitting the deck into thirds. I gather the center onto the left and then both onto the right. And I will prepare to deal the spread. When I do a spread that has a past, present, future, or a context currently coming kind of energy, or then, now, next, I always lay the present energy first. And I will look at the present energy first when I'm ready to flip the cards over. The present card for me sets the tone for the entire reading, particularly when it's a reading where I don't have a specific question or context in mind. That present card really will sort of set the tone for how I will interpret the rest of the reading. And I am going to be a rebel and look at the bottom card, but not until I get the rest of the main spread flipped over. Once I get the spread laid out, I just make sure things are situated. The bottom part of this reading is a bit out of frame, so I do apologize for that. But I just take a few moments, just take a few deep breaths, and just kind of sit before I do anything with the cards. I'm now getting ready to flip over the current relevant energy card, and I get the Page of Coins. Page of Coins for me is the Earth of Earth. Court cards as a whole for me represent behavior, whether that is embodied behavior by you or me or whoever is relevant, or by another person that is pertinent to the querent. In this case, that would be me. So this reading feels very personal. So for me, this Page of Coins is my own personal behavioral embodiment of what this energy means. And for me, Page of Coins is the Earth of Earth. It's taking the Ace energy and starting to give it form. So I interpret this as my current behavior regarding something new in my material world. Now that I have that current energy kind of dialed in, I will prepare to flip over the what I call the context card. It is kind of, I guess, a past card, but it's something that I've already experienced that is relevant to the current situation or energy. And in this case, the context card is the Ace of Cups. So this tells me that I'm very much kind of in my feelings, new feelings, perhaps, that of regarding events maybe that have transpired recently in relation to the current energy of Page of Coins. Aces for me represent the totality of potential of their respective suit. So in this case, there is the totality of potential regarding a new emotional experience. I then flip over what I call the trajectory card. It's kind of the future card or what's coming next. And I have the Nine of Cups. So I have the Ace of Cups, the beginning of the suit in my context or in my past, and the Nine of Cups in my trajectory. So I have I'm going from one end to the other, so to speak, with that Page of Coins in the middle. This deck never lets me down with regard to patterns such as this. I'm going to now flip the first of the element cards, and I actually have Earth in this upper left position. And I'm kind of blown away by the fact that the Hangman is here. The Hangman is my card of the year for 2023. I did a whole video about this card, and it also featured in my year ahead reading video that I recently did. And the Hangman is one of those cards that never shows up for me in a general reading. So the fact that it's here now kind of blows my mind. And I pointed to his hands because this Hangman is interesting in that the hands are reaching toward the ground. In a lot of Hangman cards, you see the figure with their hands behind their backs or even across their chest. But this figure, the hands are reaching toward the ground. I'm pointing this out in relation to the Page of Coins' bare feet that are on the ground. We have bare hands on the ground and bare feet on the ground. And the Hangman is in the Earth position. And I'm bringing in a totally unrelated card. This Trust Your Wisdom card is the card I just drew for my first Decan Capricorn advice. And in that guidebook, there was a line about trusting the wisdom of your body. And with that Hangman in the Earth position, it's like a need to surrender to the body. That one of the keynotes for the Hangman is surrender. And in the Earth position, for me, this is very much about the body, particularly with the context of other cards that have come up for me recently. I'm now going to the upper right card, which for me is the air position, and here we have another page. This time the page of blades. Blades in this deck are swords. Whenever I have an elemental base position and I get a matching element from a card in that particular position, I consider it to be a bit auspicious, but it also does come with, for me, a bit of a warning in that you can have too much of a good thing. So for me, this kind of shows that in that air element, I am in alignment, but I have to make sure that I do what I can to keep it there. My year ahead reading was very, very heavy on air as well. So the air element for me is extremely important right now. And the Page of Swords is also my personal significator for my sun. He has his sun and Mercury and Gemini. He's very much an air kid, but he also has Moon and Venus in Cancer, and so he's got that watery aspect to him as well. But he's very Page of Swords to me, and so this tells me as well that there could be something concerning him that could be pertinent. Swords for me are also very much about communication, and this can also for me be communicating new ideas or communicating ideas in a new way, giving form and shape to an idea and talking about it or writing about it. For me, the Page of Swords is Earth of Air, and sometimes can be a bit of an overthinker. And so that's another indicator for me to just make sure that I'm not mentally overdoing it. And that's a focus for me. Not a focus, I get, but an intention. Just not mentally forcing anything and not getting mentally defensive or defensive in my communication. The feet of the Page of Blades are covered, unlike the feet of the Page of Coins. The Page of Blades, their feet are covered because it's winter. And I associate air and swords with winter. And the fact that his feet are covered is because it's cold. He's defending his form against the cold. So there is a bit of an element of caution there. Timing wise, the fact that I have a swords card in the air position and I associate both with winter tells me that this winter season could be a very, very prominent one for me, and perhaps one to really pay attention to. 2 pages and an ace, just there's newness all over this reading, which is extremely appropriate considering the last few months and things that I've done. And I'm actually starting to feel that this reading is about my YouTube channel, which is new. It's early November is when I posted my first video. I'm getting a bit of an intuitive nudge that this is very much about that. And also the piece about the body and surrendering to the body. And in my study of human design, when you really start to take that information in, if it clicks with you, that's one of the first things that, that you learn is that the body is its own conscious entity and it needs to be surrendered to. Something else I'm noticing about the Hangman in relation to the Page of Coins is that if you look directionally speaking, their heads are level with one another. And the Hangman is about perspective as well. So this can also be surrendering to the body in order to gain a new perspective regarding this new material beginning. I've only flipped over 5 cards and I'm already getting just so much, not just from this reading, but this reading in connection with other readings. And I'm now taking out the guidebook. I actually did get the accompanying guidebook for this deck because I wanted to double check on their seasonal correspondences because they do break these up into seasons, and I couldn't remember if the correspondences in the guidebook match my own, and they do. I do associate winter with air and swords spring with wands and fire, summer with cups and water, and autumn with coins and earth, which is what we have here. I actually quite like this guidebook. There's a whole little section on the Wheel of the Year, and it does have quite the seasonal focus, which was kind of a pleasant surprise. One might not think of that just by looking at the deck. So I actually like the guidebook. I'm now about to do something also quite random, and that is bring in yet more cards that are unrelated to this reading, but yet are still connected. And these are my winter cards from my year ahead reading that I recently did. Two of Swords is my tarot for winter, and the dragonfly is the lens through which to view that season. And they both have the air association, so even more air. And now I'm flipping over the fire position and another cups card, this time the 10. And the first thing I notice is that I have the ace and I have the 9. And when you add 1 and 9, you get 10. So it's almost as if my recent experience with the ace and my trajectory of the 9, if I follow through on it with this current energy, it will accumulate in the 10, which is in the fire position. That in that position of inspiration and passion and action, there will be that emotional transcendence, provided I honor the energetic guidance and advice that this reading is showing me. That 10 will be the accumulation of that energetic acknowledgement and effort of my context and my trajectory. And that's kind of thrilling. It's thrilling, particularly within the context of my channel and how I've recently discovered my emotional love of creating content. And if I continue to do that in a way that's authentic to me and I follow through, that 10 could be my reality. But on the flip side, I feel with the 10, it's important to be present in the experience and not overly focus too much on that transcendence. Be one with the experience, but don't get completely lost in it. I feel those earthy positions are kind of a cue to kind of remind me of that. Now I am flipping over the water position, and how about another cups card? This time the 7. So there's water in the water position. So again, for me, that is auspicious, but also there's an element of caution about having too much of a good thing. The first thing I think of with 7 of Cups, particularly when it's in a position like this, is manifestation. Or what is, I guess, commonly thought of as manifestation, where you direct your feeling and your belief in hopes of achieving a specific outcome. And in this context, there has been some manifestation work done in relation to my channel. And the fact that I have water in the water position does show me that I am in alignment. So what I am doing, I think I need to maintain that and maybe even step it up a notch. 7s for me are about direction. And so 7 of Cups is directing emotion, directing feeling to where it is in the best interest for it to go. So, looking at the element positions at a glance, I have a major in the earth position, I have a quart in the air position, and I have numbered minors in each, the fire and water. What this tells me is that the earth element, there is this essence of divine timing. And in the air position, it's very focused on behavior. And in the fire and water position, it's very much focused on the everydayness of what I have control over. And the water, there's just so much water in this reading, with all of the cups cards and the hangman present. So this is a kind of all in the feels kind of energy overall. So let's flip over the what I call the helping card, and how about another page and another cups card. Page of Cups, 3 pages. So I have the Page of Cups, the Page of Blades, and the Page of Coins. The one page that is missing is the Page of Wands. I've heard Kelly Fitzgerald refer to kind of missing cards as ghost cards, where sometimes they can be prominent in that the energy is not present. So does that mean that you have enough of it and you are doing a-okay in that department? Or do you need to bring more of that in because there is an imbalance elsewhere? Looking at this Page of Cups, again, bare feet and holding the cup out in a cautious posture. And I said in my intro that I was going to put my vulnerable big girl pants on, and Page of Cups happens to be my card of vulnerability. It's giving form to an emotion, and that can be really scary depending on the context and who else is involved with this new feeling. I remember feeling so emotionally fragile before I decided to post my first video. Just the thought of showing my face on the internet and expressing my thoughts and ideas and perspectives and feelings and just kind of putting myself out there. It was a bit terrifying. I'm so glad that I, decided to do it, that I listened to my body and acknowledged the signs around me that it was time. But that initial jump emotionally, it was a scary thing. And vulnerability is hard for me. It's hard for a lot of people, but for me, it's one of those things where I don't want to appear incapable or unknowledgeable or uninformed, like, about anything. It's a shadow aspect of myself that I acknowledge and that I work on incorporating. On an average day, I would honestly rather have a root canal than ask for help about anything. And that's just a me thing, but it's a real thing. So now let's take a look at the hindrance card. And how about that? Let's just end this thing with a bang, literally. I have the Tower in the hindrance position. For this spread, I did decide to use the top and bottom cards as a helping card and a hindrance card respectively, and that falls in line with most of the other videos I've seen. I have used these positions before in different ways. Sometimes I do the top card as the sun position and the bottom card as the moon position. So the sun being what's illuminated and visible, and the moon position being what's hidden and unknown. But I'm really glad I decided to do helping and hindrance for this spread, because just looking at the Page of Cups and the Tower together, and it makes complete sense to me as to what this means. The Page of Cups is about vulnerability to me, and it's in the helping position. My vulnerability is helping me. It's working for me. I'm doing myself a favor by embodying that behavior and that energy. As far as the tower being a hindrance, oh, I could dissect this in so many ways. I'm a Scorpio sun. Tower energy is almost kind of natural to me. I have crumbled and rebuilt myself so many times, I have lost count. And in this context, I'm feeling that the tower in the hindrance position is telling me that I'm not allowing the cookie to crumble enough, so to speak. Because my vulnerability is helping me, I'm not doing myself any favors by keeping that wrecked tower upright or attempting to keep it upright. I often see the tower as ego death, particularly because the top of it is essentially on fire, but the base is usually relatively solid. So if that top is a representation of sort of the head center, crown center, it's being blown to smithereens. And it needs to come down in order to create something new. The fact that I have a major in the hindrance position tells me that it is a major obstacle that I should let go. It is an energetic lesson that I will repeat over and over again until I decide that it's time for it to end. Honestly, I sort of get a little excited whenever I see the tower in a reading because it's just an energy of rip it down. Now we'll get to my nosy tendencies of me always having to look at the bottom of a deck as long as it's tarot. I never do this with Oracle, just tarot. I have to look at the bottom card. In most readings, I tend to like to use Oracle for advice rather than tarot, but this reading, I feel using the bottom as an advice card is appropriate. And in this case, it's the Four of Blades or Four of Swords. Four of Swords for me is as far as activities go, it's my meditation card. It's that stillness of thought, kind of that mental stability. And so I'm feeling that some advice that this reading is given me is just to take steps whenever possible to just quiet my mind, quiet my thoughts. To take a note from my own channel, explore the spaces in between. I'm feeling this is true particularly because I have air energy in the air position, and my year ahead reading had so much air present that I feel that could be highly beneficial, but like anything else, it can also go the other way. So for me, it's just kind of a reminder to keep my mental activity in check and make sure that I am channeling it in a healthy and productive way rather than a destructive way. The theme of sleep has also been somewhat prominent for me in readings over the last few months, actually. So Four of Blades is another reminder to just keep an eye on my sleep and make sure that my quality of sleep is as good as it could possibly be. I think those are all of the initial thoughts that I have about this reading. I am going to journal extensively about it, and stuff always comes up during journaling that doesn't come to me when I initially look at the cards and that first kind of process. Once again, this spread proved to be invaluable as far as insight is concerned, and I will revisit this spread again. It's a great one. I want to thank Meg for creating this really fantastic tag. That's all I have for this video. Till my next one, take care and be well.